He said my work was shameful and cut me off. Then, my name's Tyler Mitchell, and I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to cut off his own family. But when your father, someone you've spent your whole life trying to make proud, tells you to your face that your career is shameful, sometimes walking away is the only way to stay sane. I grew up in Savannah, Georgia. My dad, Henry Mitchell, owned the biggest chain of car dealerships in the Southeast. Everyone knew him. He sponsored half the little league teams in town and had his name etched into the gym at my old high school. My mom passed away when I was 13, and after that, it was just the two of us. You'd think that might have brought us closer. It didn't. If anything, it made everything feel like a test I was failing. Dad always wanted me to be somebody. To him, that meant corporate. Suits, titles, business cards. When I told him I wanted to go to culinary school instead of following him into the auto business, he just stared at me. Like I told him I wanted to join a traveling circus. "You're gonna cook for a living," he said. "That's what people end up doing when everything else falls through." He paid my tuition anyway, but only because my mom had set aside a trust for my education. He never once asked how school was going. When I graduated, I took a job as a line cook in Charleston. I worked brutal hours, slept on a friend's couch, and got screamed at daily by a chef who thought Gordon Ramsay was too soft. And I loved it. After 6 years grinding it out, I finally opened my own food truck, Lowcountry Revival. Southern coastal food, locally sourced, built from recipes I remembered my mom making. Shrimp and grits. Pimento cheese sliders. Fried green tomato BLTs. It was a hit. The lines got longer every week. A couple of local news spots even did features on me. So when I came home for Thanksgiving 2 years ago, I felt like I had something to show for myself. I wasn't a millionaire, but I was proud of what I'd built. I brought trays of my food. I even printed out some articles and photos, hoping maybe, just maybe, Dad would see what I saw. He barely looked up from carving the turkey. "I saw that piece in the paper," he said. "Cute little business you've got." I smiled. "It's more than cute, Dad. I'm actually expanding." He set the knife down. "Let me ask you something, Tyler. You ever plan on doing something respectable with your life?" I just stared at him. "What do you mean?" "I mean real work. Not playing fry cook out of the back of a truck like some fairground clown." The room went silent. My cousin stopped mid-bite. Even my aunt, who usually lived for family drama, looked uncomfortable. "I'm building something real," I said quietly. "It's mine. I'm not riding anyone's coattails." Dad stood up, took his napkin off his lap, and tossed it onto his plate. "If that's how you want to live, fine. But don't expect to be a part of this family's future. I've already revised the will." I didn't say anything. I just walked out of the dining room and never looked back. That was 2 years ago. And then, 3 months ago, everything changed. 3 months ago, I got a call from an Atlanta area code. I almost didn't pick up. I assumed it was another spammer trying to sell me a car warranty. But something told me to answer. "Tyler Mitchell," the voice asked. "Yeah, speaking. This is Samantha Hayworth. I'm with Taste South magazine. We'd like to feature you in our spring issue." I blinked. "Wait, seriously? We're doing a piece on Southern chefs redefining regional cuisine. Your name came up 3 times. We'd love to do an interview and a photo shoot, maybe even a short video for the online edition." I couldn't believe it. Taste South wasn't just local press, they had national reach. If I landed that feature, it could blow everything wide open. A week later, I met their crew at the food truck park where I was now parked full-time, with 3 other trucks I'd helped younger chefs launch. They filmed me working the line, serving regulars, talking about my mom's influence on my cooking. For the first time, someone wanted to hear my story, not just what I plated, but why it mattered. The article went viral. The week after it dropped, I had customers waiting 2 hours in line just to get a taste of the shrimp po' boy that made a grown man cry. Orders tripled. A venture group from Asheville reached out about turning Lowcountry Revival into a brick-and-mortar spot. I said no. I wasn't ready to give up the truck just yet. But I started drawing up plans. Then, one Friday night after close, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Saw the article. "Let's talk, Dad." I stared at my phone for a long time. I hadn't spoken to him in nearly 2 years. Not since that Thanksgiving. He hadn't called when I made the local news. Didn't say a word when I hit 500,000 followers on Instagram. But now that I was getting national attention, suddenly he wanted to talk. I didn't answer. A week later, I got another message. This one from my cousin Jenny. "Hey, I know things are weird, but you should know your dad's not doing great." I called her. She told me what I didn't see coming. Apparently, 6 months ago, one of Dad's longtime managers, his right-hand guy, had siphoned hundreds of thousands from the dealerships. It blew a massive hole in the company's finances. And then, in January, a competitor opened a massive new lot just outside town with flashier branding, lower prices, and a better online platform. Sales tanked. 3 locations had already closed. Jenny said he'd aged 10 years in 6 months. Was barely sleeping. Walking around like a ghost in his own office. He'd never say it, but I think he regrets everything, she told me. Especially how things ended with you. I didn't know how to feel. I'd spent so long resenting him that imagining him, vulnerable, was hard to process. Part of me wanted to gloat, to send a screenshot of his shameful son now being featured in a national magazine. But another part deep down just felt tired. Tired of carrying all that weight. So I texted him back. Meet me at the food truck Sunday, 4 p.m. I didn't know if he'd show. But he did. And when I saw him standing there, hands in his coat pockets, looking like a man who wasn't used to being ignored, I realized this wasn't just a reunion. It was a reckoning. He stood there like someone waiting outside a courtroom, not a food truck. He wasn't dressed like the version of my dad I remembered, no polished loafers or cufflinks, just a wrinkled flannel shirt and the kind of jacket you buy on sale because you no longer care how you look. For a second, I almost didn't recognize him. I kept wiping down the counter like I wasn't watching his every move. A few customers lingered nearby finishing their late lunches. My crew had gone home for the day. I told them I needed the truck to myself Sunday afternoon. Now they knew why. He took a hesitant step forward. I didn't think you'd actually text back, he said. I nodded once, flat. Didn't think you'd ever reach out. We stood there like strangers. 2 men with the same jawline, same stubborn streak, same inability to say the things that mattered until it was almost too late. Look, he said, voice scratchy, I didn't come here to fight. I just wanted to see you. I saw the magazine article. I leaned back against the side of the truck. And he looked down at the pavement. And I was wrong. That sentence hung in the air like a sudden silence after years of noise. I didn't respond right away. I didn't know how to. He kept talking. When your mother died, I got tunnel vision. I wanted to make sure you had a future, something safe. I figured the only way to honor her was to keep things locked down, controlled. I never saw it as control, but I see now that's what it was. You said my work was shameful, I reminded him. Not just risky. You mocked it. He nodded slowly, his mouth tight. Because I didn't understand it. Cooking didn't look like success to me. It looked like scraping by. I didn't want you scraping. But I didn't get it, how much it meant to you. What you were building. Did you actually revise the will? I asked, suddenly. His jaw flexed. I did. I laughed under my breath. Not because it was funny, because it still hurt. I'm sorry, he said. You don't have to forgive me. Hell, I wouldn't if I were you. But I came here because everything else is falling apart. The dealerships are bleeding out. I've had to sell properties. Lay people off I've known for 20 years. I stayed quiet. And through all that, he continued, I kept seeing your face pop up online. Happy. Working. People loving your food. And I thought, what if I'd just supported you from the start? What if I'd actually believed in you? You didn't, I said. And you cut me off when I needed you most. He nodded again. I did. And I regret it every damn day. He took a shaky breath. I'm not here to ask for money, or help, or a handout. I came here because I miss my son. I don't know what kind of man that makes me now. But that's the truth. We stood in silence again. The only sound was the hum of the refrigeration unit behind me. A breeze rolled through the lot, carrying the smell of burnt oil and fryer grease. You ever eat fried green tomatoes out of a paper boat? I asked. He blinked. What? I gestured to the truck. Come on. Sit. Eat something. You look like hell. He gave a small, sad smile. That's fair. I stepped back in the truck and dropped a couple green tomato slices into the fryer. While they sizzled, I pulled a house-made remoulade from the fridge and grabbed a toasted brioche bun. I didn't say anything, just made it the way Mom used to. Simple. No frills. I handed it to him, then pulled out a second for myself. We sat on the bench just outside the truck, chewing in silence. Finally, he looked over. This tastes like her. I nodded. I know. He wiped his mouth, staring out at the parking lot. You built something real. I know, I said again. He didn't respond. He didn't need to. That moment, sharing a sandwich on a Sunday afternoon in a parking lot off I-26, was the most honest we'd ever been with each other. But it wasn't the end of the story. Because 2 weeks later, he came back. And he had an offer that would change everything. 2 Sundays later, he was back, same jacket, same cautious look, but this time he was carrying a manila folder under his arm. I was midway through prepping a batch of blue crab hush puppies when I saw him walk up. I didn't wave. Just opened the side window and nodded toward the picnic table again. He sat. I finished up, wiped my hands on a towel, and joined him. "I've been thinking," he said. "A lot. About legacy. About what lasts." I raised an eyebrow. "You want to leave the dealership to someone else now?" "No," he said, laying the folder on the table between us. "I want to help you build this." I didn't touch the folder. Just stared at it. He continued. "I don't have the capital I used to, but I've got contacts. Investors who still trust me. Property connections. You've already got the product. What you're missing is infrastructure. Real estate. Logistics. A team. I can help you scale without selling your soul." I shook my head slowly. "You told me my work wasn't real." "I was wrong," he said, calm and clear. "Dead wrong. And I want to spend the years I've got left doing something that is real." I finally reached out and opened the folder. Inside were rough plans, proposals, location maps, budget estimates for converting an old service station near downtown Charleston into a full sit-down version of Lowcountry Revival. My logo was mock-printed across the header. It didn't look flashy. It looked thoughtful. "You did this?" I asked. "I hired someone," he admitted. "Didn't want to screw it up." I ran my fingers over the page. My brain was torn in half thrilled by the possibilities, half still guarded from old wounds. But one part of me, the part that started this whole thing by refusing to give up, knew the truth. I had built something real. And now, even my father saw it. "I'm not giving you control," I said. "This is my vision. You work with me, or not at all." He nodded without hesitation. "With you. Only with you. And I want to bring in some of my people. Deshawn, Rosa, Yvette. They helped build this from the ground up." "Of course," he said. "We do it your way." We shook on it right there, between a picnic table and a food truck that still smelled like fried okra and smoked brisket. No lawyers, no drama. Just 2 men, rebuilding something far more valuable than a business. It's been a year now. The Charleston location opened last month, and opening night was standing room only. I stood in the kitchen watching a packed house bite into shrimp sliders and hush puppies while a jazz trio played in the corner. There were framed photos on the wall, one of Mom at her church bake sale, one of the food truck, and one of me and Dad in front of the new sign. Lowcountry Revival Kitchen. He still shows up every day at 9 a.m. sharp. Doesn't wear a tie. Sits in the corner with coffee and a clipboard, double-checking deliveries and payroll. Says it's the most at peace he's ever felt. Funny what happens when you stop trying to make your parents proud, and start making yourself proud instead. Turns out, the legacy I needed to carry on wasn't my dad's. It was my mom's. And she would have been proud of us both.